Okay. So I have something that I would like to try to tie together as one what do you want to say? One exhortation. And I guess I would title it, Don't Give Up on Living Abundantly. In Galatians chapter 6, you don't have to turn there, but I'm going to turn there. Galatians chapter 6, we're told, wait, is Galatians 6, is it not? There it is, Galatians 6:9. Yes. Let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not grow weary. Let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not grow weary. The Lord gives us promises of abundance, promises that our labor is not in vain in the Lord. We're not wasting our time. If we are about the business of God, if we are working at what He has given us to do, then our time is not being wasted. So, let me introduce you to one of my latest Facebook fiascos. I interact with a lot of people on Facebook. I do a lot of debating and proclaiming, exhorting, whatever you want to call it, on Facebook. And you might ask, how much good does that do? I don't know. I don't know how much good it does. But I do know that God's word does not return void. And we want to be faithful in every area to preach the gospel. So, I'm starting with a practical example, and we're going to move from the practical example to the broader principle. But I posted about marriage. And what I said was, in a nutshell, the husband should make his wife happy, and the wife should make the home happy. And as is wont to be the case whenever you say anything about marriage roles of any kind, World War III broke out in the comments. I'm exaggerating, it wasn't that bad, but there's plenty of objections and clarifications and qualifications and just debates. Just what am I getting at? What am I driving at? My point, my takeaway from that is not to delve into my post and talk about all that. That's another topic for another time. The thing that I am taking away from that for myself is that if we have a miserly view of the things the places where God has put us, we will always get lost in the caveats. Whether it is the issue of marriage, or the issue of how we relate to our family members, whether it's the issue of being generous to poor people, whether it is the issue of how we interact in the political sphere, where it is the issue of our relationship with people in the church, whatever the case may be, if we have a miserly mindset, we will always get lost in the caveats. What do I mean by getting lost in the caveats? Well, if someone tells me, Gabe, you need to serve your wife, where does my brain go right away? Does my brain go right directly to, yes, amen, I want to serve my wife like Jesus serves his disciples. I want to be a Christ-like husband. Or does my brain go straight to, well, yeah, I should serve my wife, but that doesn't mean I should do everything that she says. And that doesn't mean, and you see what I'm getting at? Do I have the brain of a miser? Because we serve an abundant God. We serve a God who gives generously. He says, if you sow sparingly, you will reap sparingly. So there is a reflective aspect in our relationship with the Lord that He gives generously to us, but He also expects us to give generously in the same way. And in some way, His blessings toward us will be reflective of how overflowing we are toward those around us. So do we have the heart of a miser? What's our first impulse? It's not that the caveats are not true. There may be some real caveats, and sometimes they need to be stated. But does my heart default straight to, okay, so there's a guy on the street corner who's asking for money? Does my heart go straight to, and I'm not saying that you have to give money to every person on the street corner, but I am saying, does your heart default to, well, he probably should just go work. He probably doesn't deserve it. I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve the mercy and grace of God. I don't deserve the condescension of Jesus. Does my heart go straight to being a miser? Scripture calls that, specifically in the area of greed, of money, calls it having an evil eye. Does my heart have an evil eye? Kind of a scowl, an Ebenezer Scrooge face. And you can apply that to money. You can apply that to generosity. Well, I have other stuff to do. I don't really want to give my time over there to this person who says they need help. I don't really want to give my time to my sibling who says that they need help. Or I don't want to go home and do the dishes. Whatever. Fill in the blank. My question for you, for myself, is, do I have the heart of a miser? Does God call me to have the heart of a miser? No. Scripture talks about sowing, not sparingly. Do you want to reap sparingly? I don't want to reap sparingly. I want to reap abundantly. And if we want to reap abundantly, then by faith, we keep sowing the seeds of faithful obedience. So how would it change your marriage, or your relationship with your siblings, or with your relationship with your parents or your neighbors, or fill in the blank? You fill in that blank for yourself. How would it change it if you were not thinking miserly? If you were not thinking, how much am I supposed to do, and how much are they supposed to do? But instead thinking, how can I throw so much seed by faith into this relationship, this task, whatever it is, because I expect God to cause growth. That's a very different perspective on our relationships and our tasks. It's the same thing when you go to work. If I'm at work thinking, okay, how much am I supposed to do? And am I really being fairly treated at work? Am I really being paid all that I'm worth? You mean that I'm not saying you never should ask those questions, but it is a problem if that's the attitude of your heart. The attitude of my heart is squinty-eyed. I think I deserve more than this. I don't know that I really should have to work more than this. Instead of having a heart of abundant faith, which says, give and it will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. That's what I want. That's what I want. So by faith, it's not a question of how much do they deserve. It's a question of what kind of God do I serve. And because he's a God who keeps his promises, I want to give and give and give and give, because that's how he is. I want to make it practical for a second. If you are this is just one example. This is a very broad principle. One example. In a position of authority, whether that's older sibling, younger sibling, parent, child, husband, wife. Obviously, these are different. These spheres of authority interact differently, right? The authority of a parent over a child and a husband over a wife is very different. But within biblical structures of authority, if you are in the position of authority, are you squinty-eyed about the people under your authority? Are you miserly toward them? To make this specific, if you come to a point of disagreement and you're in a position of authority, you have two biblical options. Number one is to ask them to follow you. To say, look, I'm sorry, but we need to do it this way. Whether that's a husband with a wife, older sibling with a younger sibling, obviously there comes a point where you've got a 20-year-old sibling and an 18-year-old sibling, and that authority is not really, you don't get to tell each other what to do at that point, right? But you know what I'm driving at. There comes a point where the person in authority can either say, we've prayed, we've talked, we've tried to reach an agreement. I can't get there. We don't agree. I don't think this is the right way to go. You can either say, okay, I really think we should do it this way. I'm asking you to follow me on this. I obviously can't force you to follow me on this. I mean, unless we're talking a 5-year-old, then yes, the parent should force the 5-year-old to do what they say. But you get what I'm driving at here. I think we need to do this. That's all I can say. This is the way I think we need to go. Or you can say, okay, here's what I think should be done, and so I wouldn't recommend doing it the other way, but I'm going to leave this one up to you, and you can do it that way if you feel like you need to before the Lord. What you may not do is say, okay, I'm going to leave this one up to you, and you can do what you feel like you need to do before the Lord, and then they end up deciding to do the thing that you didn't want them to do, and so you're whiny and pouty about it for the next couple of days. That is manipulation. And it is miserly. Because I'm withholding from you the full joy of fellowship until you get it right. I'm not trusting God to work in your heart. No, I'm going to keep you at arm's length so that you feel the full weight of your folly. Well, that's not letting your yes be yes, first of all. But secondly, it's being miserly with our love. No, I'm going to keep on loving you generously and abundantly. It's not my job to starve you of affection so that you make the right decision. It's my job to speak the truth in love and leave the rest to God. So watch out for this tendency, siblings, in your relationships where you have authority structures. And in some sibling relationships, that first category is not even there. You don't have the authority to say, hey, this is what we need to do. So all you have is, hey, I really don't think that's the right call. Okay, then leave it to the Lord. Don't be a manipulator. Don't have a miserly eye. Speak the truth in love. And then keep your word. Keep your word and give it to the Lord. Okay? So, don't be miserly. Be abundant because God is abundant toward us. But what about when it seems like the harvest is a long time coming? And that's often the case. Otherwise, we wouldn't have verses like this. Let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not grow weary. Why do we have verses like that? Because the clear implication is, you know what? There's going to be a lot of times where it feels like forever. I am tired of being sick. I'm tired of having to put up with this disagreement. I'm tired of this relationship conflict. I'm tired of this political reality. I'm tired of fill in the blank. But we serve a God who works in ways that we cannot see, we cannot understand, and we are called to be faithful, but not faithful in a miserable sort of, I'm going to keep doing this thing because I have no other choice and this is what I'm supposed to do sort of way. No, Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross. And that's how we are called to endure our crosses as well. That doesn't mean that it's not difficult sometimes. It will be difficult. And it's okay. It's okay that it's difficult. It doesn't mean you have to, every time life is hard, you have to beat yourself spiritually because I'm such a failure because life is hard. It's okay. Life is hard. We live in a fallen world. You're not called to live on cloud 9 all the time. That's not the Christian life. But the Christian life does live by faith. And it does look toward a harvest that is coming. So do not grow weary, even if you feel stuck. If you are stuck being faithful, then you're being faithful to the God of harvests. And in due season, you will reap. So keep up the good work. Hang in there. If you're stuck by your own faithlessness, if you're stuck because you're not obeying the Lord, and he's saying, go take the land, and you're saying, but there's Canaanites in the land, okay, then that's on you. But if you're stuck because you're just in one of those seasons where you need to pray, I will wait for you, and it just feels so overwhelming, and it feels like it's taken so long, he's faithful. He's been faithful again and again. And you can't read the story of the children of Israel, at least you shouldn't be able to, without seeing yourself in it. I tell you, I sure do. When I read the children of Israel and I see them, God works a mighty deliverance, and then they love the Lord for 3 days, and then they leave again. Like, why does God leave us and abandon us in the wilderness? I see kinship there, because God has always been faithful to me, again and again and again and again. He always keeps his word. And how often does my heart veer back into doubt, and veer back into worry, and veer back into all these things? God is faithful. So remind yourself who he is. And then if at the end of the day, if all you can do is pray, I will not let go until you bless me, then keep on praying, keep on holding on. And the harvest is coming. So don't grow weary. Don't feel like what you're doing is not important. Doesn't matter. It's not getting anywhere. If you're being faithful in serving Christ, you don't know. You don't know what he's doing. You don't know what he's up to. How many great things might he be seeding right now? We can't know that. But that's one of the neat things about harvests. You get way more than you put in. Amen. If that wasn't the case, farmers wouldn't have a job. It'd be a waste of their time. If it was an exact one-to-one exchange, I go out, put in my time, and then I get back exactly the amount of food and energy that I put into it. Well, that's silly. I mean, you might be able to just subsist, but you're not growing, you're not producing. That's not how farming works. God is a God who brings harvests in manifold amounts. So if you don't see it now, that's okay. Do not grow weary. Hang in there. Be abundant. Love your siblings. Love your spouse. Love your kids in such a way. Love your community, your neighbors in such a way as to be sowing lots of seed. I want to be the kind of person that goes around and you bump into me and just seed spills out. It spills out of my pockets and, my pores, and gospel seed, the seed of Christ, the love of Christ, just everywhere. I want to sow so much seed that if God doesn't bring a harvest, I've wasted my life. I've just spent, what'd you spend all that effort and all that love and all that generosity and all that joy, and that's all you got if God doesn't come through on his promises. That's the way I want to live. Because he will. He does. He comes through on his promises. And at the end of the day, when it comes harvest time, I want a harvest. I want a big, big harvest. I don't want a couple stalks of wheat. I want an armful of sheaves and a basket full of sheaves on my back and 3 trips worth. So do we live with that kind of abundance? Live abundantly and don't grow weary. Don't lose heart. Don't give up. For in due season, we will reap if we do not grow weary.